Hey guys, today I have a substantial update from the United States government and President Trump on opening up the economy again very soon. I'm going to be breaking down the key points of this plan to open up the economy. So if you're someone who doesn't want to sit inside anymore, maybe you're excited to return back to work or go out with your friends, or you just want to know about the economy in general, this video is for you, so keep watching. What's up everybody, Michael here, welcome back to another video. Before we get started, please be sure to like the video down below, leave a comment with your takeaways, thoughts, or just whatever you want in general on today's video. So anyways, let's get started and let's talk about the new plan that Trump just released called Opening Up America Again. And this is a set of guidelines for how states and regions can open their economies back up. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this from a couple of different perspectives. I'm going to look at the positives, the negatives, and what people are thinking about it in general. So first of all, the positives. Positives is that this is the first time that we're starting to see a future. When are we going to be able to get out of the stay-at-home orders? When are we going to be able to leave our houses? So this is the good news. However, the negatives is that a lot of scientists and public health officials don't believe that this plan was really well thought out. They believe that it is missing a couple of key issues. So I'm going to go over those issues today, but first let's get into what the plan is and what it states. So this plan caused a lot of move in the stock market. It caused the stock market to go up 3% on Friday. It states that there are 3 basic criteria in order for a state or region to open up. The first criteria is with regards to symptoms. They just have to see a downward trend in all symptoms related to the coronavirus within a 14-day period before they can move into phase 1. Moving on, the second criteria is with regard to cases. This just relates to cases going down. They cannot see an increase in cases in any of these states or regions before they start to implement phase 1. Moving on, let's talk about the third and final criteria for this plan, which is with hospitals. Hospitals need to be able to treat all patients without crisis care, and they also need to have robust testing programs in place. So from what you can see from this plan is that it really just talks about things are getting better and you could start to go into phase 1. It doesn't really propose how things can get better. It just says, to keep social distancing, stay at home, but it just says when they start to see, a reduction in cases in a state or region, the local governor can decide whether or not he wants to open the economy back up, and this is the criteria that he should follow. So before we get into the 3 phases of this plan, I think it's important to point out the fact that scientists and public health officials think that the grading criteria in this plan are not enough. They think that there needs to be 3 pillars in place before any economy in the US, whether it's a state or the whole US economy, opens up. They believe there needs to be 1, which is mass testing implemented across the nation. This is essential to be able to identify who has the coronavirus and who doesn't. The second pillar that they think is necessary is that there needs to be contact tracing of coronavirus patients. Well, what this means is that essentially they need to be able to trace who's come in contact with someone with the coronavirus, because if you've come in contact with someone, that means that you could just keep spreading it. Even if you don't show symptoms right away, there needs to be a way to contact trace who has come in contact with someone else who has had the coronavirus. And the third pillar is that scientists believe there needs to be personal protective equipment in place for all healthcare workers to prevent any flare-up with the coronavirus. These are the things that public health officials and scientists believe are grading criteria, that they think that these 3 things are necessary before any state, before any region opens up their economy. And these 3 things are not addressed in Trump's plan. Okay, so without getting too much into detail about the 3 phases, because that would be boring, let's just talk about the basics. Phase 1 is essentially you have to stay with groups of 10 people or less, gyms can start to open up, schools should stay closed, and bars should also stay closed. That's the basics of phase 1. Moving on, let's talk about phase 2. Before you can get into phase 2, it has to satisfy those grading requirements, the 3 grading criteria that Trump had before you can move into phase 2. Every time you want to move into a new phase, it has to satisfy the grading criteria, which is, downward trending cases, and hospitals have to be able to treat everyone. So moving on to phase 2. With phase 2, gyms can still be open, schools can start to open, and bars can open with limited capacity. However, they still want to encourage people to work from home and telework. In addition to this, in phase 2, they start to allow non-essential travel. So that means you could travel for business, you could travel for vacation. The one thing I would criticize about this is once you start allowing people to travel and people start traveling from one state to another, it doesn't matter if one state is still under lockdown and and they don't want people to leave their house. And another state says the economy's open back up, because then it's just going to start spreading again. That's, in my opinion, what I would think. It sort of has to be, if one state opens and people start traveling, well, they could spread the virus to another state. People are moving around a lot. And when people start moving around a lot, no matter what state you're in, it'll start to spread. Again, that's in my opinion. Anyways, moving on to phase 3. Phase 3 is when a state or region starts to just open everything back up and starts to return to normal life. And before you can move to phase 3, you also have to satisfy those grading criteria. So anyways, in my opinion, this plan basically just says that when things start to get better, you can just open up the economy a bit more, take some restrictions off. If they get worse, well, then you have to take it back and make more restrictions again. Doesn't really seem like there's very specific criteria. It's just like, well, it's getting better, let people do more. Oh, if it starts to get worse though, then we have to go back into whatever we were doing. It's not really a very scientific approach or have any specific guidelines really. It's just very general. If the economy starts to open back up again, well then it might go back into, lockdown and stay-at-home orders, because they'll go into a second wave of the coronavirus and it just won't get better anytime soon. With that being said, make sure to get your 2 free stocks with the Webull investing app using the link down below. 1 free stock with Robinhood. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video down below, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.